walkers, crawlers, blood, guts, and all that is zombie. It's time for Tony and Josh to recap this week's AMC's The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, episode 603. This is the bonus Tony and Josh show where Tony and I are going to recap the latest episode of AMC's The Walking Dead. This one just so happens to be the third episode of season 6, and I am probably going to go on a nonstop rant for pretty much this entire...
Well, let me just say to start with, thank you, which is the episode name.
Yeah, no, the episode name is Thank You, and I don't know what the hell for. Because,
thank you and kiss my ass.
Yeah, seriously, it should be more like an F you because of really, I mean, the only thing that happened in the show worth talking about is probably one of the most beloved characters having a rather bad streak of bad luck. Tony and I each have some theories as to what happened in this show, and we could theoretically skip over all the other stuff that happened and talk about this one incident that pretty much anybody who is a fan of The Walking Dead is talking about recently.
It's up to you, but I say let's gloss over everything and get
we should at least touch on a couple of things. So last episode 602, we kind of got a backstory of one character. We also saw pretty much the whole rundown of the attack on Alexandria. Now this episode, there's not a whole lot of backstory of any other characters. However, we see pretty much the same time frame, but now from the perspective of Rick and everybody else who was outside of the fence dealing with this zombie horde. When the horn goes off, and then pretty much what transpires from that point forward. And there's a lot of drama that happens. Rick kind of breaks his code a little bit. He kind of goes off by himself. We've also got what's his face with the bike? Daryl. Daryl ends up kind of.
You can't forget Daryl.
Daryl ends up kind of taking off on him, by himself. It's just like this full breakdown of everything, and I'm like,
it's breaking apart.
What the heck is going on here? Just everything is in absolute chaos. This group mentality, this bond, we need to stick together type of thing is pretty much just thrown out the window at this point.
Well, they're out of practice, aren't they? Because they've been getting soft.
They really are. Yeah, that's a good point.
Alexandria.
So, Rick makes a point that, hey, all these people that are with us, they're not all going to make it. These people from Alexandria, these Alexandrians, as I think he refers to them, quote, aren't all going to make it. And he pretty much, he tells the others that, if they can't keep up, you got to just keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
And so it's this whole, not leaving anybody behind, but this is sort of one of those things that where if these people can't keep up, if these people start getting hurt or start slowing us down, their incompetence is going to pretty much cost the lives of everybody else in this group.
Yeah.
So that can't happen.
Well, they got this hero complex by now because they've been, protecting each other and been very successful at it.
Yeah, and of course, in true Walking Dead fashion, just then one of the Alexandrians gets eaten by a walker and starts bleeding out. Michonne steps up, stabs him, of course, and afterward, Rick does what any survivalist would do at this point in the situation. He takes the guy's gun and whatever else off of him that he could. I think there was like an energy bar and maybe some ammunition or something. I don't remember. And everybody's just like,
yeah, all the new people.
He's robbing the corpse, or something.
All the new people were shocked by that because it was a living, breathing cohort peer that was just alive, and there's no let's say a few words. Let's sit here and get eaten because we want to pay respects to this individual. So yeah, it was very clear that the difference between not knowing what it's like on the outside and knowing what it's like on the inside, which actually Michonne makes a nice little speech to one of them coming up about that same thing.
Yeah, and Glenn and Michonne are leading this group, or at least the ones that are Rick. I think Rick and then of course the two that are or the three that are leading the zombie horde away. Glenn and Michonne are pretty much leading the rest of this group back towards Alexandria. and Walker's attack. Now this episode is really chock full of a lot of action in this. And this is just one of many Walker attacks that we see. This, of course, sets everybody into panic, which, Glenn and Michonne, they're fine. But this character, Sturgis, I think is what his name is. I don't even know what the hell this guy was doing with a gun to begin with, but he just starts wildly firing around. I mean, it's like one of those cartoons that, the small cartoon character picks up a gun that's way too big for him, pulls the trigger, and it's like, tick, 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 and bullets are flying every which direction, and everybody's got to take cover. Well, of course, somebody gets hit. Yeah. I think the character's name is Scott. He gets hit in the leg. And the group is now,
which is wonderful for when you're trying to flee a group of zombies.
Just what you need.
Yeah.
When you're trying to outrun a zombie horde, you need a bullet in the leg. That's perfect.
It's almost as good as being bit.
Now, there is another character who's kind of a good guy on this. We've seen him a couple of times. He's kind of been very helpful, very willing to kind of make amends and kind of do what it's got to whatever it takes to kind of move this thing into the next phase of things. He's been helpful with construction and all this other stuff. His name's David, and he ends up taking a bite to the shoulder, and Michonne is pretty much on his hip from that point forward. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a soft spot there. I don't know, but she's kind of taking a looking at him, and he knows what it means. He knows that he's only got a finite period of time left.
He handled it very well, almost like
very calmly,
almost like an actor that really wasn't going to die.
So, well, and this is like one of those things. Well, they can't just chop off the leg before the bad stuff gets to the heart and spreads to the rest of the body. It's his shoulder. You're pretty much screwed at that point. You just can't chop off half your torso. So, he pretty much has accepted his fate, but is willing to, since he is in for the most part good health for now, willing to help the group accomplish their goal. Mm-hmm. So Daryl decides that he's going to tell Abraham and Sasha that he's leaving them to help defend Alexandria. He's going to head back and go after because obviously there's something seriously going wrong.
She really puts the guilt trip on him, and
doesn't she ever? She basically implores him, please stay with us until we reach the 20-mile mark as planned.
Yeah,
Without you, we can't make it. Without us, you have a slimmer chance of making it. We need to stick together.
I knew the argument was great. She did it very well, and Daryl was going to think about it and go, "All right, you're right."
Nah.
I got faith in you.
Yep. And I think that's what he said too. I got faith in you.
Yeah, it's like,
so he takes
you'll
off.
be okay.
Yeah. And he's gone, so it's like, oh great, now what's going to happen here? So all we need is that car to break down, or the zombies to not no longer be attracted to it. Something.
The noise.
That whole plan's
the car wasn't that noisy, so
it really wasn't. But they got a horn, they got guns, they got flares. They are prepared. Yeah. This plan still has a chance of succeeding.
Yeah.
So
and it may now that I've seen this episode. And they did have a significant amount of the zombies continuing to follow them, so maybe so.
So back in this group that's heading back to Alexandria, they've got some ground to cover. So they're making their way through this abandoned town to see if any of the cars can be used to drive home, because that would be awesome. Mm-hmm. Heath, this other character that we've seen pop up more recently, especially in this episode, recognizes the town as the location of Aiden and Nicholas's disastrous and fatal supply run, and that's the one where Noah's life was lost, and that pretty much set off the whole Nicholas and Glenn feud, because Nick and Aiden, or whatever his name was, pretty much showed just exactly how incompetent they are. Mm-hmm. So reluctantly, Heath asked Nicholas with showing them how to get through the town. Nobody really wants to turn to Nicholas because this guy's a complete tool and douche nozzle. So they're like, okay, since you're the only one
not
here
even
that knows
not even the entire douche bag, just the nozzle.
Just the nozzle. With Nicholas leading the way, and God, what could possibly go wrong with this? The group, of course, runs into...
What a great thing for Glenn to do. You're going and you're going to lead. I mean, wow, what a big pat on the back.
Get your ass out there and take point.
Oh,
seriously.
Yeah.
So Sturgis, the guy who took off flailing, shooting the gun wildly in every direction possible,
Sadly,
is of course reunited with the group. However, he's in a different form, the form of zombie meat. So he's being feasted upon when the group comes on, and of course Nicholas, he shits himself or something. I don't know. He completely loses it. It becomes paralyzed with fear yet again because the guy just can't handle himself. Glenn all but throws a brick at him, just snaps him out of it, and they backtrack to be confronted by more walkers. They're pretty much at this point almost getting surrounded. Yeah. They retreat into some kind of a store. I don't know if it was a hardware store. No, it was a pet store. I remember cages and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So and here they kind of regroup and kind of lick their wounds a little bit. Got to figure out some first aid, and they figure out a plan to where okay, we got a lot of zombies. They're going to be on us any minute now. We made some good time, but we've only got maybe 15 to 30 minutes before the horde that they're trying to lead away catches up to them. So they've got to figure out a plan to distract the zombies that are in the rest of this town from getting to them. So they devise this plan of burning down a building. Sure,
hardware
why
store.
not? So
feed and hardware, I believe.
Yeah, well, Nicholas comes up with this idea. It's like, well, the driest building in town is going to be the old feed store. And that should go up like a box of tinder pretty well. So Glenn and all them, they kind of figure out this plan. Glenn radios into Rick, lets him know, okay, this is what we're going to do. Then we're going to get back to Alexandria, and they go for it. Well, Annie and Scott point out their injuries are slowing everybody down. Annie's got a twisted leg. He's got a bullet in his leg. We got this other guy who's got a shoulder injury. They pretty much need to be left behind. Well, Michonne refuses to leave anybody behind. And Heath he's looking very strongly at Michonne because he thinks, because of what Rick, or he overheard somebody say to Michonne that, hey, these guys aren't all going to make it. You may have to leave them behind. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't, of course, want to be left behind. And there's a little bit of a heated argument between Michonne and this Heath guy.
I've been out there. I know what I'm doing. No, you haven't been out there until you can't tell if the blood that's on you is your blood, the blood of your friends, or the blood of zombies.
Yeah, she really breaks it down to him pretty good. It's like, you think you know, but you really don't know.
Yeah, you crazy
and
kids
he ends up kind of getting a little glimpse of what that means exactly.
Well, you saw that at the towards the end where he stood there and looked at himself in the water.
Kind of has that realization, like, oh yeah, she's right.
Mom was correct. I should have listened to Mom, but I didn't.
So Glenn and Nicholas, they on their run out to this feed store, they find a walker pinned underneath a car. Nick recognizes it as somebody that he and another member of the group had left behind during one of their runs.
Just a 17-year-old kid.
And Glenn is just like, okay, take care of it, whatever. Because Nicholas obviously needs to find his kahunas.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost them, and so this is a way. All right, you can kill the pinned zombie. Here's an easy one for you. Nice lob over the plate, underhand toss. Here you go. So Rick, however, during the meantime, reaches the RV and takes off down the road to his rendezvous point.
Mm-hmm.
And Michonne's group sits quietly in the pet store. They're waiting for the walkers to go by the storefront, drawn by all this gunfire that's being heard. And where's all this gunfire happening?
It was interesting to hear something that you hear and you remember what happened in the prior week's episode, and you go, okay, well, this is what it's like from a different perspective. I mean, other shows have done stuff like this before, but it was interesting seeing the other group's perspective of what's going on and that question about what's happening. And I think Rick actually said, we just have to hope that they will be able to take care of themselves and believe that they will be able to take care of whatever situation they're facing. And right. Rick was right. I mean, because they had the secret weapon there with them. Carol.
Yeah. Well, Glenn and Nick reach the feed store only to find out that, well, somebody else has pretty much had the same plan all along.
I'll point out that Nicholas was correct.
Yep.
It was very easy to set fire to.
And somebody did so, or it happened all by itself. In any case, the feed store is burnt down.
Yeah.
So now there's no way to distract the zombie horde. Whatever are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michonne, their group rallies out of the pet store, guns a-blazing. They've got to get it out there and get to another rendezvous point or something like that. Doesn't work out so well. Annie falls and is devoured by walkers. So that's too bad. She goes down. The rest of the group.
And she takes out some zombies in the process. She tells them to keep going, and gun a-blazing, taking zombies out, headshot after headshot until they're right up on her. So, I don't know why they're not shooting these people in the head before they start getting gnawed upon.
I wanted that same thing.
A shot to the head is a lot less painful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, the guy's getting chewed to bits. Take him out of his misery.
Especially right there at the fence that we haven't spoken about.
Yeah.
That was just a ninja sword away of, ending it for that gentleman.
Well, and this pretty much brings us to the point that has me the most pissed off, because Glenn and Nicholas now have to pretty much carry on with the rest of the plan. But they take the walkers are coming from everywhere, and they take a turn down the alley that pretty much has a dead end. Well, there's a fence and a dumpster down there, and
it looks like they can probably use the dumpster to get up and over the fence. Unfortunately, there's zombies on the other side of the fence.
Now, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but as they ran down that alley, there was a stairwell on the far side that we saw that had some debris on it, and one of those pieces of debris was just a mattress. It was a clear and present escape route. They could have made it up that fire escape and onto the roof of that building, basically focusing the zombie horde into a single file line that they could have dealt with, if not even blocked. Now, what would have that gotten them? Maybe some time. I don't know.
Well, certainly a lot better than standing on top of that dumpster
at that point.
Right.
They certainly would have been trapped at that point. So I don't know if that would have been a good plan or not, but it certainly was an alternative to what happened.
Well, in the game of survival, you don't need a solution right now. That's all you need is a solution right now, and then look for solutions as time progresses. And being on top of a dumpster, even that was, the zombies weren't able to bite them or get them.
No, this was a 6 foot tall, dumpster. So the zombies, all they could do was pretty much just get a hand or some zombie fingers onto some shoelaces. That was about it. Well, Nicholas just completely loses at this point. His balls have been shipped to another country. He no longer has.
They were in Glenn's pocket for.
Seriously,
for a while now.
He just basically loses all will at this point. He gets this weird, eerie calm over him. He turns to Glenn and simply says, "Thank you," and then proceeds to shoot himself in the head. Glenn, of course, just gets hit in the face with a spray of brain and blood. And Nick's body goes crashing into Glenn. And they both go falling down into this literally shoulder-to-shoulder zombie horde that has completely encircled them. Nick hits his head on the ground. It's a good knock, and you see his head kind of bounce. They fall down off of this dumpster together, and we see pretty much what you think was going to happen. You fall into a horde of zombies, you're going to get torn apart. And we see Glenn writhing in pain and disbelief as we see zombie hands and teeth gnawing and mashing and pulling intestines and entrails out of a body, and it's this never-ending scene of entrails being pulled and strewn out of what we're assuming is Glenn's torso.
I gotta wonder what these actors are eating. The zombie actors are actually eating, because that was some.
There was actually something about that I read recently, and in a lot of it is it's real food that they dress up. There was one scene, and I forgot what it was. They called it out specifically about how a zombie grabbed somebody's neck and kind of tore. And we saw a big chunk of flesh come, basically peeling off the side of somebody's neck. That was raw chicken.
Oh, that could get you sick.
Well, yeah, it could, but the actor was up for it, and it was the only way to make that scene happen with really good authority. And as long as you can have some foie gras of sorts, it's got to be really, really cold.
Oh, so or maybe they could have soaked it in vinegar or done whatever they do salty,
to. I don't know.
Whatever they do to sushi to make it where you can eat it. But I'll just mention, I went back. I told you before that we started recording this that I went back and watched just that one scene because
you've had a few more views of this scene, and guys, we're talking about this point in time where Glenn gets killed, or so we are led to believe.
I'm not even going to say Glenn gets killed. I'm going to say when Glenn goes off the edge. I will add unnecessarily because he could have just let Nicholas go.
Yep, he could have ducked.
He didn't have to. I mean, Nicholas didn't have a hold of him. He didn't have to grab him and try to hold him up.
He did have a face full of head spray, though. So he may not have had his full vision.
A 360-degree surrounding by zombies might make you cautious enough not to fall off, even with a spray of red pastry juice in your face. I'm telling you that when I saw that, I thought, well, this is silly. Why is he falling? I mean, I know he doesn't want Nicholas to die. He brought him this far. He's teaching him the ropes. He doesn't want him to give up, but his head has a big ass hole in it now. So let him go. He didn't do that. I understand. It's what's in the storyline, but the storyline for us to believe in it, it has to be something you can buy into. And I had a hard time believing that Nicholas was actually able to pull Glenn off of there. Now I went back and I was confused because the first time I saw it, I thought Nicholas fell on top of Glenn. So I instantly thought, well, they're going to start gnawing on Nicholas and maybe Glenn can get out of there. Highly unlikely in this situation, but at least it's hope. And then when they started pulling out,
I'm watching it right now.
Okay, good.
I'm watching it
when he starts pulling out the intestines. I'm thinking, well, that's Glenn, because Nicholas fell. They were face to face and they fell down, and Nicholas would have been on top of him. So that's Nicholas's back. They're not going to be able to go through Nicholas's back to get to intestines that quickly. So, I rewatched it and I saw where they spin.
The view that I see is that Nicholas puts his gun up to his head, pulls the trigger. We see, point of view to Glenn.
Oh yeah.
And his face gets sprayed,
and
it's this sort of disbelief.
Right.
And Glenn does go down first with Nick facing upwards.
Yes, exactly.
What I saw. So
we've seen this before. And I don't know why they didn't do it this time, especially with the zombies laying around or the ones that they killed. When you cover yourself in zombie goo, the zombies can't distinguish you from anybody else. I mean, from any other zombie, and they leave you alone.
Why was Glenn screaming and writhing and watching as these zombies were pulling up guts and eating them and everything?
Why would he be holding on to Nicholas as he's falling? He doesn't want Nicholas to die. He's trying to save Nicholas, and now he is in anguish because, not so much that he's being torn apart, although that's horrible, but he just killed himself. He's coming to grips with Nicholas killing himself.
Well, I tell you, and there must have been about 1,700 gallons of fake blood pumped through that scene. There was copious.
Somebody has been on a water diet. Nicholas has been raiding the water.
Gush.
Yeah. So, I'm sure there are doctors out there that see stuff like this and go, oh, that's totally unrealistic. But
guys,
from a horror
YouTube is absolutely in an uproar over all of this. I mean, okay, The Walking Dead, Glenn's death scene. You do a search for that, and look, this show has been on the air for, or this episode has been on the air for 4 days now.
Yeah, been out for 4 days.
Over 750,000 views.
Yeah, there's people
752,000 plus views in 4 days of this. This is how big of a deal this is.
There are people at The Walking Dead that are laughing their ass off because their plan was to make it look like Glenn got killed, And the one of the things I said on Twitter, do we riot now? I mean, I know that's what we were supposed to do for Daryl.
Yeah.
But are we supposed to riot for Glenn? Because I feel like rioting for Glenn. And actually, I was talking to somebody on Twitter, and we were kind of going back and forth. And she says, okay, she was really pissed off about this. And she says, okay, hold up. I'm being told there's a buzz on the internet that this situation may not be the situation we think it is. And that's what got me to thinking about my thoughts while watching the show. And that's why I went back and watched the scene. And sure enough, Nicholas was facing up because he kind of spun around on top of Glenn. And I'm thinking, well, I bet you Glenn scurries up that. I didn't see the stairwell. Maybe Glenn gets covered and scurries up the thing, or he climbs under or in the dumpster.
So I might believe in, because did we not find Glenn in a dumpster in season 1?
Was he in a dumpster? I think he came out to save Rick that was in the tank.
Oh, maybe it was a tank. Tank, dumpster, same difference. Metal wheels.
Well, one goes boom. The other one doesn't go boom unless it's 4th of July.
So
you remember what Glenn was, right?
What's that? Say it again.
You know what Glenn was? I mean, I think
he was a pizza delivery boy.
Right. I actually made a comment when somebody was bemoaning his apparent death on Twitter about my comment was, the sad thing is it's too late to call in for a delivery pizza and give the pizza boy an extra big tip.
Now my pizza will never get here.
The pizza will never get here.
No, in that scene, as what we think may be Glenn's torso getting torn to shreds, it doesn't appear as if there is any escape. There is. No. I mean, it is nothing but arms and zombie heads. I mean, you see literally no room for escape.
As we used to say, elbows and assholes.
Yeah, it appears as if there is very little room underneath the dumpster. So little, in fact, you'd likely be hard pressed to get a leg under there, let alone your whole body. So, and that was my original theory too, that, okay, well, he just scurried underneath the dumpster and hid there, and the zombies eventually got bored and left or something. But then, taking another look at that scene, no, there's not enough room underneath that for a full size body. So I don't know. I don't know. Could he have gotten up and be covered in blood enough to be so slippery the zombies can't get a hold of him?
Well, he needs zombie on him, and I think he doesn't need the fresh blood and stuff on him, because I think that would just entice them, much like a shark, blood in the water for a shark. But I just dawned on me, what's going to happen is Eugene is going to show up, guns a-blazing, with his hair perfect in the mullet, style, and he's going to rescue Glenn. It can happen.
I don't know. I think that maybe Rick is gonna because I think he tries to get a hold of Glenn on the radio, and it doesn't happen. So I think because Rick knows of the plan, that he may try, and because he's not getting any radio response from one of the OGs. I mean, one of the guys that's been around for a long time, one of the guys that is going to make it no matter what. So why isn't he not answering his radio? Something is wrong. Remember, we need to go find out. So
Rick's in trouble.
Might take the RV out.
No, Rick's in trouble, right? You remember about Rick getting in trouble where he got shot at and he mowed down those 3 people?
He handled those guys, though.
But the RV's not starting.
Yeah, that we saw. Maybe he gets it started.
And the zombies are starting to encircle the RV.
I'm holding out for that old Winnebago to turn over and fire.
I was expecting it to, frankly. Right at that last, because it almost did the popping noise, and then it started turning over again. And I thought, okay, it's going to start. And it didn't.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I think that it will start reluctantly, just when he needs it to the most.
Well,
and that's
Glenn
going to be
Glenn needs a sky hook to get out of the situation he's in. He either needs to get to the roof, and they need to get a helicopter, or they need to get something. Or I guess maybe the RV might work out where he could jump off the roof on top of the RV.
True. In any case, man, I don't know. The Michonne's group arrives to Alexandria, seeing the carnage, outlying buildings burned. The mess everywhere. Man, Rick's RV's not starting. Glenn may be dead. Looks like he's dead. We have several other characters that are dead now. Just all hell is breaking loose. This whole house of cards is coming crashing down. And honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen next. Well, ordinarily, I've got a pretty good feel of how things are going to play out. This one has completely thrown me for a loop.
All part of the devilish plan, Josh. And do you know the mid-season for The Walking Dead, season 6 is, I was just trying to look this up. I think it's Friday, November the 22nd.
For the mid-season hiatus? Oh, God, I wish they'd stop doing that.
I mean, not only do we have to wait all these months, they're going to go to, November 22nd, which I guess is good because it's, actually it says the episode 16 finale is around November the 12th. So I understand that they don't want to be showing stuff around Thanksgiving, although I don't fully understand why they have to do that, because that's whenever most people. Oh yeah, you're right. I don't watch football, so that's why I didn't get that.
It's so much bigger than Walking Dead, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the sad truth of it all. It's all about ratings and stuff like that. I think they might milk this one out for a little while, like they've done with some other stuff before in prior seasons. We may see Glenn again. We may or may not get any indication that he is officially dead. And in before the hiatus, we're going to see him pop up and be like, "What's up, guys?" And be like, and then boom, cut. And now we have to wait 6 weeks until the next next batch
I say if Glenn is still alive, there's a possibility then that Laurie Holden character can still be alive.
That's a stretch.
No, it is, but I like her. I liked her character in there. They didn't give her enough time in that. They certainly didn't give her a good death, and that's what they were bitching about on Twitter, was the death that Glenn had wasn't a very good death.
And that's what I thought too, because all of the other characters that were well respected or beloved ended where their storyline ended horrifically. So Glenn, being such a main character that he is and being so well liked, there is no way in hell they're going to write him out of the storyline like this. That's my theory. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Josh, I got some bad news for you. I don't know if you've read ahead, but the next episode is Here's Not Here. Morgan must face his demons on his journey from King Country to Alexandria as the identity of his mysterious friend is revealed. So here we go, back in time to get the Morgan backstory as he travels to Alexandria. So we ain't going to know crap about Glenn.
Certainly not for another episode at the very least, too.
Yeah, and the one following that is Now. So I would think that now means they're bringing things back to the time frame of now.
This is like a bad zombie version of Who's on First. That's all I got to say.
Well, we'll never let you know who's on first here because we're going to be just bitching and moaning the whole way. But if you have to admit, it's an interesting story. It's very exciting this season. There's a lot of unknowns. There's not really that much predictability. I certainly didn't see the problem coming with Glenn, and I got a very much better feel for the zombies being a real threat. I mean, up until this point, it's like, here a zombie, there a zombie, there's a horde, honk a horn, get somebody to scream, they're going to wander off, we run, we're faster than them, we can handle a group of 2 or 3 times our size.
All we've seen is the onesie twosies, maybe a group of 3 or 4, maybe a half a dozen or so in one spot, but not
this huge mindless,
thousands.
Yeah, this huge mindless horde, and you get a very good sense of, wow, this is not a good situation. You really have to be careful out there. You can't get too cocky about that. So I just want to remind everybody about these mindless zombies as we're going into election year and you guys go to the Democratic convention. So just be careful out there.
Indeed. Well, guys, this is going to wrap it up for episode 603, season 6, episode 3, AMC's Walking Dead. Tony and Josh recap each and every week, guys. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to do another episode and a lot more bitching and moaning and griping and complaining. You can bet on it.
Guaranteed.
In the meantime, guys, if you have a suggestion of something we might have missed, or you want to call us out on something we got wrong, send us an email to info@tonyandjosh.com. We'd love to hear from you. And in fact, if you guys send us a response, we might just even throw it in the show.
Love to hear from you. Thank you a lot, Josh. Great talking to you about The Walking Dead this week, and looking forward to see what's happening next.